leader of Labour Party, Peter Obi. The closed-door meeting chaired by Atiku set up a committee with a blueprint for operations before its launch. Meanwhile, another source who was at the meeting informed Arise News that the information is not correct, while providing a proper perspective. He says 3 presentations were made on the appropriate political platform to be used by the coalition group, and a decision is yet to be reached. Lastly, in the economy, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association yesterday lamented the continued decision of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria to maintain the monetary policy rate at 27.5%, that's the interest rate, since November 2024, despite a global wave of interest rate reductions aimed at revitalizing economic productivity and combating stagflation. Specifically, the LCCI stressed that the current MPR level was prohibitively high for private sector development. Likewise, NECA expressed concern over the CBN's continued reliance on monetary policy tightening. The MPC, at the end of its meeting on Tuesday, decided to keep all its monetary policy tools unchanged. Mann stated that the rigid stance of the MPC has continued to create unintended consequences that might deepen the parlous performance of the productive sector, and earnestly beseech the CBN to urgently reconsider its monetary stance. So we have security, politics, and the economy. Rufai, some of your key takeaways from today's headlines.
So a couple of things. I think what Governor Zulum was saying in effect about contractocracy is the fact, what we have always said all these years. In fact, I did an interview with Governor Adebayo, which has a degree in war studies. And we talked about the fact that with this insurgency, hasn't a military-industrial complex built? And he said, you can argue that something like that is already building. And that's always the case. And it even snowballs even into the not-for-profit organizations that are working around there, the NGOs and the likes. All of a sudden, Borno's real estate has surged so much. To get home for expatriates and NGOs that work around there, you pay quite a princely amount. Also, the contractors on ground, which is a military-industrial complex building around there. And that's what happens when you fought a war for a very long time. And that's why we say, please, the government must return to the drawing board. At first, have we been able to save Marte? He said about 80,000 people have had to leave Marte. It was there to boost confidence. Has that been resolved? Other parts that we have fought and successfully defeated Boko Haram, now they are coming back there. 4 years ago, we rehabilitated people, put people back to Marte, but they are back there. But they're increasingly living there because of Boko Haram insurgents. He also talked about the fact that there are informants among politicians. So what's the investigation as regards that? We need to be able to have this investigation. And he's a governor, he's got some level of information. And even in the soldiers, we've always talked about the fact that, yes, there's some bad eggs amongst us. What are we doing to get rid of those people? And that's why I say intelligence is key. Intelligence, economic development, proper surveillance and reconnaissance, technological deployment, and education and provision of basic social amenities, healthcare will be the key to unbundling things like that. See, in the 80s, when the Metiseni riot happened, there was a report done then to the government, and it indicated that if the poverty and the squalor continues in the north, all of this crisis will continue. And it's so easy to be able to recruit people like that. So he's led the charge. Where would the government follow? We need more equipment. I know the equipments are expensive, but we need to invest in security. Secondly, I just checked through the numbers now. Nigeria has one of the 6th highest interest rates in the world, MPR rates. How can businesses thrive? In fact, let me run through the list for you. You'll be amazed. At some point, Venezuela, 59% highest globally, driven by inflation. Turkey, 46%. Edward has been doing mad economics there as far as I'm concerned. Egypt, 27.2%. Malawi, 26%. Ghana, 27%. Nigeria, 27%. And Zimbabwe after Nigeria, about 20.0%. That's as for 2024 data for Zimbabwe, and Argentina, less than 20%. For lending rates globally, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Turkey, Egypt, Malawi, Ghana. Nigeria is 14.01 lend rate as of 2023, but now the MPR rate has shot to 27. You know what it means with 27%? It means that when you go to the bank, when the bank add their charges to it, some of the lending rate goes as much as 35%. How can businesses thrive in an environment of 35%? Even if they say you can make a return on investment of 35%, 35 to 40% threshold, because Nigeria is an emerging market. But you know that has been caught now because purchasing power has dropped. The state of play of the economy. It's harder to produce in Nigeria because of bureaucracy, no power, other attendant challenges, lack of infrastructure. So when you cut that out, so what is the return on investment? If you invest in Abidjan, because their currency is now stronger, you'll be quicker to make a dollar in Abidjan than to make a dollar here. It will take you 570 CFR to be able to make a dollar of your investment in Abidjan. In Nigeria, it will take you 1,600 Naira. So those are the problems on ground. That's why manufacturers are complaining. Coupled with the tariff situation, coupled with other ancillary costs, coupled with the fact that due to the forex fluctuations, they've lost trillions. And these are the problems on ground. But when we talk about them, people think we're joking. And now that the politicians are doing their coalition, they want to be able to come together. This is not the time for speculation. When they get their acts right, they should do whatever they're going to do. Part of the report also said they were even talking about the possibility of forming a new platform and all of that. Because these are the problems anybody that will emerge in 2027 will have to come face. But I see a lot of high-handedness among these politicians that are thinking of coalition. I see the fact that a lot of them want to be president. And once you have that, they might just make it easier for President Tinubu to emerge. So they must also have to be careful.
Okay, let me start with Governor Zulum. Governor Zulum is not saying anything that is new or original or that he has not said before. Before now, he had called on he had alerted the federal government to the fact that there was serious crisis, a surge in insurgency in his state, Borno State, and he wanted the federal government to come and help. He was told at that time that he was spreading, alarm, fake news, whatever. But again, when the situation in the Mate local government area occurred, 300 villages and towns became deserted. Only Mate local government was standing. He also, in a show of solidarity and confidence with the people, went there and slept overnight, backed by the military and the police. Again, he called on the federal government of Nigeria to please rush to Macedonia and help us. And now he has granted an interview on television where he repeated more or less the same things. And what has he been saying? He's saying that contractocracy is part of the problem. In other words, there are some people who benefit from the military establishment who just do contracts at the expense of other people's lives and properties and security in other parts of the country. 2, he said that there are 50 columnists, even within the military, soldiers, who are acting as informants for these insurgents, bandits, terrorists, criminals. We all know that. 3, he said that President Tinubu should ignore sycophants, the people who downplay the issues in the Northeast and tell the president what he wants to hear. And he, as governor, as a man that is on the ground, he says he knows what is going on. We know all of this. 4, he said that kinetic approach alone will not solve the problem. He's saying that government has to look at non-kinetic approach, political and economic dimensions. All of this has been part of the narrative up to now. 5, he praises the military, that the military is doing well, and that if the president were to listen to the military will know what to do to be able to find a solution to this problem. Well, it is standard practice for government officials to praise the military, to encourage them to see how they can do more. 6, he said, procurement process. We must take a look at that so that the military can get the equipment that they need early enough. So that's how I see all of this. It's not new. What is reiterated by Governor Zulum is the fact that, look, the battle against terrorism, banditry, insurgency, whether it's asymmetrical or not, has not been won. and government needs to do a lot more, and that the buck stops at the desk of President Tinubu. It's for President Tinubu to listen to him. The only controversial thing that I think Governor Zulum said in that interaction with the media was he saying, where he opposes the idea of state police, he prefers forest guards. Well, that can be debated. But this is not the forum for that debate this morning. Now, the second thing, quickly to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Well, the MPC, Monetary Policy Committee, met. 12 of them voted unanimously to hold, to retain the asymmetric, the MPR at 27.5%, to retain the asymmetric corridor at plus 500 minus 100 around the MPR, to retain the CRR at 50%, to retain the LDR at 50% for deposit money banks and 16% for merchant banks. And we said yesterday that it will appear that the Central Bank of Nigeria is still taking a cautious approach. It's trying to see how these measures, will yield more fruits before it can either change or still retain its position in the July 21 to 22 meeting, which is the next meeting. However, what we have seen is that the Naira stabilized a bit, and that was projected as a show of confidence in the Nigerian economy by investors. However, the Manufacturer Association of Nigeria, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the Nigeria Employers Consultative Assembly, NECA, have now reacted to that decision that was taken by the MPC at its last meeting. And what they are saying is that the cost of credit in Nigeria is still very high. It is the 6th highest in the world, they say. And that will frustrate manufacturing, make the cost of borrowing too high, make businesses difficult for small and medium-scale enterprises. They are accusing the Monetary Policy Committee of rigidity. They are saying that the Nigeria First policy is under threat. And in a statement issued by DG Manufacturers Association, Mr. Segun Ajayi Kadir, that's his name, Mr. Segun Ajayi Kadir, he was saying also that, look, the benchmark rates that the CBN has adopted should be reduced further to make things easier for manufacturers. The head of SCCI, Mrs. Almona, was saying more or less the same thing. NECA is saying also more or less the same thing. Now, they are saying that what they would like to see is a greater correspondence between fiscal and monetary policies. They think that the CBN is adopting only the monetary policy approach, where in defense of the CBN governor, Cardoso, when he had that post-MPC conference, he made the point that they too, they are asking for greater synergy with the fiscal authorities. But in any case, 2 points, quickly. Whatever can be done to ensure private sector development is to be encouraged, is to be insisted upon. 2, the manufacturing community in Nigeria is saying these portfolio investors who come, make profit, give the impression of investor confidence, that's not where the government should be looking. The government should be looking at manufacturers in-house, private sector development within the country. Okay, you cannot argue with them at that, on that point. Number 3 point is that it would seem to me that MAN, SCCI, and NECA, they are, what is that word now? They are reacting after the fact. They are not proactive enough. These meetings are announced. Is there any interface between the private sector and the MPC or the central bank before these monetary policy committee meetings are held, so that they too can make their recommendations ahead? Everybody was saying up to a week before that MPC meeting that they are going to hold interest rates. So it's not as if MAN, SCCI, NECA did not know the way the narrative was going. Why didn't they speak before then? Why didn't they intervene before then? Now, after the fact, they are reacting. I don't think that is the best way to focus on this. As for ADC and the coalition, ADC was founded in 2005, and the chairman has been since then, Ralph Nwosu. At a point, the CCM which was led by President Obasanjo, had some interaction with the ADC, African Democratic Congress, as it became to be known at the point of registration with INEC. And ADC has been in the presidential race over the years. It was the platform on which Professor Patu Tome ran. It was the platform on which Obadiah Malafia, now of Blessed Memory, ran in 2019. It was the platform on which Dumebi Kachiku ran in 2023. Now, between that 2019 election and now, 2007 election and now, ADC has either been 4th, 7th, 8th, and 4th in the 2023 election. So it looks like an attractive platform. But what we hear is that a decision has not yet been taken. There are three tendencies within the coalition. There are those who are still looking at SDP, although SDP has said that these are opportunistic politicians who want to come and hijack the SDP. There are people who are saying it is possible to form a new political party. That's another group. There are those who are saying, okay, we should go to the ADC. I don't think we have any clear certainty. What we know is that the coalition has shown that it's still alive and that they are still meeting. After, I'd written that they seem to have been upstaged by the strategy and the bricksmanship and the ownership of the game tactics strategies of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the APC. So, they may be playing possum, but they seem to have woken up at this moment. The details will be in what happens hereafter.
Absolutely. We hear that there would be some sort of a meeting on the 30th where resolutions will be made. But the major point of concern is how can we evolve from this politics of special purpose vehicles to get into office? Because we've seen that what it creates is that it creates personality cult politics. It doesn't create ideology. It doesn't create movements that have a mission, movements that represent certain interests and have an agenda to get into office and create certain transformation. So it's unfortunate that we're still going in this direction because we saw the outcome it yielded in 2023. And it looks more than likely that if things continue along this script, a very similar scenario to what we saw in 2023 will still play out in 2027. But again, I don't want to focus on the campaign trail because it's 2 years to the election. Let's focus on governance. On governance issues, Governor Zulum has consistently reiterated the need for greater intervention in Borno State regarding the status of security. He has done so repeatedly and he has gone to the battlefront. This time he's bringing a different dimension and he's talking about the bureaucracy, what he's calling contractocracy. Now, I found this to be quite a salient point because we cannot downplay the impact that corruption and the politics of contracts has on governance in Nigeria. We know that when somebody becomes president or when somebody becomes governor, people move from all parts of the nation to Abuja or to the capital of whatever the state is so they can be closer, all waiting in the corridors of power so they can benefit from one contract or the other. Now, what is the result of that? The result of that is the poor governance that we see. It's incompetence. So in one moment, it may be an incomplete road, but now in this moment, it is now resulting in lapses in security. Of course, the army have maintained that all things are in order, they are realigning, and they have vowed that they will defeat these insurgents, and I believe they will. However, there are some niggling issues that the governor is highlighting. I found it a little bit ironic because in December of 2024, the governor had vowed to give contracts in his state to APC loyalists as a way of rewarding them. But this is how these things come back and bite you, because sometimes you may be a beneficiary of this system, but sometimes you might be on the receiving end of what happens when we operate these systems that are not based on meritocracy. I came across a very thought-provoking interview by a Chinese economist by the name of David Li, who's a former advisor to the Chinese Central Bank. In 2013, in a conversation with Fareed Zakaria, he said that corruption in China is not an economic problem, it's a political problem because investments, infrastructure still gets built. things still happen. The money is still used. But yes, politicians will skim off the top and it creates public distrust. But whatever projects are allocated are still completed. But we have a situation where our own corruption here is now becoming a political problem, an economic problem, and now a security problem. So something needs to be done, and there needs to be the political will to tackle it once and for all. He has this information. Can he hand it over to the necessary authorities? And can those authorities also have the boldness to follow through on these investigations, no matter how high and mighty the people implicated may be? Because these are very weighty allegations. Of course, we've already heard from the army as well that there's an increased push from the region at the moment, from the Sahel. There's so many dynamics happening in the region that are causing this push, this new resurgence of insecurity. So it's a reminder again that, yes, we've seen that the administration has been doing more to try and renew relationships with the neighbors in the region, but I think more needs to be done in terms of cooperating with our neighbors and also monitoring the porous borders. Now, lastly, he also made mention to the rehabilitated former terrorists, and he said that there are no assurances that these people will not go back. And this is the unfortunate issue we find ourselves with. A situation where we say, let's pull them out, let's rehabilitate them. We need to review this and ask ourselves, is this really the right way to handle this situation, especially given the risks that are currently being posed on the ground? That may need to be assessed. Yes, to non-kinetic. However, maybe a re-strategizing is imperative. Last but not least, on the economy, we've highlighted severally on this table that the interest rate, is grueling. But this is the paradox of economics, is that if your inflation rate is high, what you need to do is raise interest rates so that you can reduce money in circulation and create almost a form of contracting the economy. But the paradox is that what we need right now is economic stimulus. So while numbers may start to look good on the macroeconomic index, what's happening really is that there's a shrinking happening. And that's why most times when you see interest rates continually being maintained, it leads to a recession because it actually contracts your economy. But what are some of the recommendations? This is the time to push funding to the Bank of Industry, where the industrial sector, the productive sector, can access finance at single-digit numbers, at single-digit loans. Incredibly important. This is also a time for us to look at how we can take advantage of the Africa Free Trade Continental Agreements, trade with Africa, trade within the region. Why do I say this? Because the Pan-African payment settlement system has just been put into place. Now, this might be a way that can help us to bridge some of the challenges that we have at the moment as we seek to trade closer to home with the production that is stimulated by money that's released to an organization like Bank of Industry at single-digit loans to boost production in our private sector. Well, it's now time for a short break on the morning show. When we return, we'll have Adefemi Akinsonya join us with a world brief and review top stories in today's newspapers. Do stay with us.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
We don't like to eat better, more nutritious meals, more veggies, but we want it tasty and easy too. No cubes. That's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic. And enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's the cocoa. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate.
How far, Niger? Welcome to the Glow Cafe app. Come in. Because it's time for an upgrade. Your own personal Glow Cafe app open 24/7. Welcome to bigger, better, smarter. Welcome to total control of your data, your airtime. Mom, I'll call you back. How you buy? I'll send you data. How you share and how you recharge. Movies, gaming, music, all in one place. Welcome to more value. Download the upgraded Glow Cafe app and get more data. Get 100% recharge bonus and get a massive 100 gigabytes data bonus when you register. Want it all? Download all this into this.
Unlimited.
Taking your business into the future will require a bank that supports you. That's why you need a partner delivering solutions tailored to you and your customers. With First Online, you can enjoy a seamless banking experience and a continually evolving financial platform to reach for even bigger dreams. Let's take giant strides into the future together. You first, First Bank.
What are we looking at?
Thank you guys for joining us for this unforgettable night.
Everything is fine.
Paw Patrol is on!
It's Max Verstappen in the lead. The biggest star is here.
Absolutely sensational.
Let's go!
What were you guys doing to us?
Get unbelievable entertainment that is unbelievably easy to own. Get and stay connected to DSTV.
True strength. What defines it? The brilliance of a player? Or when a team comes together to win? A solo beat? Or the rhythm of many? The flair of one dancer? Or the art of a troupe? One distinct voice, or the beauty of the symphony. At FCMB Group, we build ecosystems, empower communities, and create the future. Because we believe it's not just one, but the power of the group that delivers the future we all desire. FCMB, the power of the group.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now for World Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning, Adefemi.
Good morning, Dr. Ruben. That's me.
Adefem.
Hi, good morning,
How are
How are you doing?
Yes, you have something juicy for us
So
today.
yeah, go ahead.
You got something.
It was juicy, eh?
It was. What an event. Hey, all righty. Well, let me tell you what's happening around the world. Now, an ambush. That's the general consensus. Shows that that's how South African President Cyril Ramaphosa's visit to his US counterpart at the White House has been described. Now, Donald Trump played Ramaphosa a video that he claimed proved genocide was being committed against white people under the opposite of apartheid. Now, the video included footage of former South African President Jacob Zuma and opposition politician Julius Malema singing an apartheid-era struggle song called Kill the Boer, which means farmer or Afrikaner, as supporters dance. Now, Ramaphosa quietly but firmly pushed back, pointing out that the views expressed in the video are not government policy. And there was also footage that Trump claimed showed the graves of more than 1,000 white farmers marked by white crosses. Trump then produced a batch of newspaper articles that he said were from the last few days, reporting on killings in South Africa. Here is what Cyril Ramaphosa had to say in response.
What you saw, the speeches that were being made, one, that is not government policy. We have a multi-party democracy in South Africa that allows people to express themselves, political parties to adhere to various policies, and in many cases, or in some cases, those policies do not go along with government policy. Our government policy is completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament. And they're a small minority party, which is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can take land.
And then when they take the land.
Well, Ramaphosa did acknowledge that there is crime in South Africa and said that the majority of victims are actually Black. Now, in the room was Trump's South Africa-born billionaire ally Elon Musk, as well as J.D. Vance, and the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, as well as diplomats and journalists from both countries, from both the United States and South Africa. Now, Ramaphosa arrived at the White House with his Agriculture Minister, John Steenhuisen, who is white, two of South Africa's top golfers, Ernie Els and Retief Goosen, and the country's wealthiest person, Johan Rupert, all in a bid to woo the golf-loving president. Now, they all weighed in during the Oval Office meeting and seemed to be well received by Trump. And when leaving the White House, Ramaphosa did tell journalists that he thought that the meeting went well, and he said he felt as though Donald Trump had heard him. Now, moving on to another story that happened very late on Wednesday. Now, police in Washington, D.C. have identified the suspect believed to be responsible for the shooting death of two Israeli embassy staff who were killed outside a Jewish museum in downtown D.C. late on Wednesday in United States time, but obviously very early in the morning here in Nigeria. Now, the victims, which was actually a couple, a man and a woman, they were shot while exiting an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum. Israel's ambassador to the United Nations called the incident a depraved act of anti-Semitic terrorism, and 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez from Chicago remains in custody. Police say that he was chanting Free Palestine after the shooting when he was arrested. Now, I was listening to some witness testimony and did say that the alleged suspect after the incident came into the museum along with people and appeared to be shaken up and then started chanting Free, Free Palestine once the police arrived there.
Well, where do we start from, Femi? I feel very, very sad about what happened yesterday. And I feel disappointed in Cyril Ramaphosa. Yes. I knew he came with the approach of, I have to be restrained, but for a bully, you don't do that. He'll ambush you, and he'll ambush you with a lot of lies. I do not know, Vimba, Dr. Batsi, that an American president now spreads fake news and lies. I'm shocked that an American president lies. And I'll give you the facts. That video was not representative of what Trump said. They were not graves. They were a protest of crosses lined up across the street when Rafiti, a white farmer, was killed. And they were just videoed at that point in time. And even Google Maps Earth has shown that those crosses have since been removed because it was just used for protest, and they took a video of it. Guess what? South African Race Research Relations Institute has ratified that they were not graves. So I'm shocked that nobody in the White House could show President Trump that was fake news. And the president of a free world, or the leader of the free world, played a fake video to make a justification yesterday, and he misrepresented the video. That's a new low for the world. You can go and check it, verify it. I had to go and research it. That video has been debunked. They were not graves. They were crosses put there on the road as a protest, as a memorial. They were not graves. Secondly, kill the boy, Vimbai. You know the courts had their say on that. And that's why I'm disappointed that Cyril Ramaphosa could not push back. South African court also went ahead to say that there's nothing like white genocide. In fact, you have 45 out of 100,000 crime rates. A sizable number of that, about just 1% of the white farmers are killed. More of the percentage are the black people.
Which
and even when they called up the Agric minister, the leader of the DA, Johnny Boy, he was talking from right to left, pivoting. So it was all a grand ambush. Johan Rupert uses religion, and Johan Rupert is one of the, apart from Dangote, I think the second richest man in Africa. He owns Richmond. He worked in Lazard Brothers in the 70s. He's been investment banking boy and all of that. So has the wealth, has everything, friends with Trump. They just ambushed Zuma. They're saying they want to come back to, and El-Rufai was saying that. He was a total eyesore spread with fake news. And a lot of those booklets Trump was showing were Daily Mail, New York Post, for an American president. If they told me that this will happen in my lifetime, that an American president showed fake news in the whole, and that's when the guy asked him about Qatar, he started to abuse the journalists and all of that. I say the media should be talking about fake news and American presidents.
Yeah, but that journalist was off topic. That journalist was off topic. Okay,
you support this Trump guy, right?
Where do I begin with this? No. I think, there's been a lot of debate, especially around the land issue, because ultimately we have to remember that this is about land redistribution. Africa was colonized, and land was seized from the black man violently. And now some sort of redress needs to be done to return that land back to black people, whilst accommodating white people as well. We saw the Mugabe style. Now, if this had been Mugabe, maybe there would have been fists in the White House last night. So people are saying that Cyril Ramaphosa took a cue from the Mugabe aggressive stance and said, let me try a different stance. Let me try something a little bit more subdued, and let me take this big delegation to see how we can navigate what has become a very tricky issue. Unfortunately, in doing so, the general consensus is that he has sold out the black man, because he was unable to stand on the principle that land must be reallocated. He was unable to drive the point home that there is historical injustice and transformation is required to ensure that there's a balance in the share and equity where land redistribution is concerned in South Africa, and that in doing so, they will ensure that no criminality is perpetuated. Now, I'll go to the golfers who were, clearly at the invitation of Donald Trump, who honestly just made the case worse for Cyril Ramaphosa. I was embarrassed for him because he thought he had allies, and they started to chime into this narrative that, they don't feel safe. But I'm glad that Johan Rupert was able to come and say, listen, I sleep with my doors unlocked. I'm even building cottages for my grandchildren on farms, meaning he has access to land and he's not under any threat as a white man. And I'm glad he also pointed to that Minister of Agriculture and told him that, in fact, the highest crime rate is in your own province, in Western Cape, and it's gang warfare. That's the crime we have an issue with, not genocide against white farmers. Overall, though, on a lighter note, I had to burst out laughing. The moment they started playing those videos and I heard Julius Malema, I just said to myself, is this what we're doing? It was extremely dramatic. But the context of that, see, Southern African countries, our independence is still very fresh in our mindsets. Our revolution, our liberation struggles are still very, very tender in our memories. If you go to even sporting events, you'll find that we sing war cries. They are a thing of joy and pride to us. And this case has been taken to court. Is Kill the Boer an inflammatory and insightful song? No, it's not. It's something that we sing as a reminder that our revolution is not yet complete. And the black man must be emancipated, empowered economically, whether it be through land, whether it be through corporate governance, whether it be whatever it is. The black man deserves to have those historical imbalances redressed. And it's unfortunate that this outing seems to have done the opposite of that.
Okay, I speak as a student of international diplomacy, and that's where I'm coming from. And that is why I do not agree with all the persons who have been condemning President Cyril Ramaphosa, who say that he was too submissive, he was humiliated, he was treated badly. Yes, we all agree that he was ambushed. Yes. But I think that he was calm and he handled the situation very well. You will recall that President Trump has developed a reputation for treating visiting foreign leaders shabbily. The most dramatic example being the way he treated President Zelensky of Ukraine in February. In fact, Zelensky was walked out of the White House. But where Zelensky failed, Ramaphosa succeeded. And how did he succeed? By being very diplomatic. He went there with friends of Trump, the golfers, and also Rupert, the luxury goods retailer, you know, who is also a friend of Trump, and who helped to open the door to the White House. And then, of course, his objective was to reset the relationship with South Africa, to work on bilateral relations with America, which is the primary power in the world. In other words, in that room, to not have been in the interest of Cyril Ramaphosa to do more than what he did. The United States expelled South African envoy to America, withheld aid to South Africa, raised objections about South Africa, saying South Africa is anti-United States, for saying that it's also against the policies of South Africa, of the United States, particularly in the Middle East, South Africa having gone to the ICJ. Ramaphosa himself has issues. He was chairman of MTN from 2002 to 2013. MTN internationally is linked to Iran. Iran is not a friend of the United States. So that's why I think Ramaphosa played the game very well. He played off golf. He even took a book about golf sites in South Africa to Trump. He massaged his ego.
Yes.
He told him he too is a golfer and all of that.
Yes.
Now, when he was now ambushed, he was ready. And he was able to push back on all those points. He says there is no genocide in South Africa. He says, too, even if Elon Musk is looking for Starlink license, he hasn't applied. And if he applies, the affirmative action law of 30% will apply, whether it's Elon Musk or is whoever in the world. 3, he debunked the video showing Julius Malema of the EFF. He said, look, that's not government policy. And Julius Malema's EFF is not even part of the coalition, the governing coalition in South Africa. But there is multi-party democracy in South Africa. There is freedom of expression. So these small parties are also allowed to speak. I thought that was very clever. At the end of the day, he came out and he said, oh, it went very well. He was not kicked out. In fact, Trump was so comfortable with him, he kept him in the White House for 3 hours. And in fact, they had their lunch together, So I think the food was very good.
They said the food was good.
Oh, well, what do you expect? But in other words, what I'm saying is that from the point of view of diplomacy, it was a successful outing. Ramaphosa has opened the door. The conversations will continue. South African interests, he has helped to defend it. Now, whether deals were worked out or not, we don't have any details because we don't have full details of what happened at the lunch meeting. And South Africans can be proud of their president. He even dressed very well. He didn't go there like Zelensky wearing gym clothes as if he's coming from some roadside.
Somebody that's at war, he should be wearing
The president that's at war should wear suit and tie.
I'm saying Ramaphosa also played the sartorial part of it. I think it was a good outing for South Africa. As for the killings at the Jewish Museum, very unfortunate, just shows you the risk, the spread, the scale of anti-Semitism as a result of the conflict in Gaza with Israel. But the US authorities would have said they will investigate this and that whoever was responsible, some good man wearing blue jeans, will be apprehended and it will be sanctioned accordingly. We cannot support violence or hate of any sort. whether it's anti-Semitism or it is apartheid. And that is why the South Africans are saying the issue in South Africa is not race, it is crime. I think they succeeded in getting that message across.
Well, thank you all for your great submissions. Let's move on to the newspapers. As ever, we begin with This Day this morning. This Day does lead this morning with the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association yesterday complaining over the continued decision of the Central Bank of Nigeria to keep the MPR, that's the monetary policy rate, at 27.5%. Since November 2024. That's despite a global wave of interest rate reductions aimed at revitalizing economic productivity and combating stagflation. Specifically, the LCCI stressed that the current MPR level was too high for private sector development. It says Nigeria now has the 6th most expensive credit market globally. Now, the New Telegraph leads with the prospect of a 2027 coalition and why the likes of Atiku, who is Atiku Abubakar, of course, the former vice president, and the 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, won't adopt the PDP. Now, we have seen reports that both gentlemen, along with former Kaduna State Governor El-Rufai and other political leaders, have now agreed to adopt the African Democratic Congress as the primary coalition party to challenge President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the 2027 election. Now, that move is also picked up by both the Daily Independent and the Daily Trust, which refers to the ADC as a new bride. In terms of insecurity, though, the Punch leads with the Senate and Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum on Wednesday, who urged President Bola Tinubu to take urgent measures against the renewed terrorist attacks in the northeast. Zulum advised the president to rely more on the professional judgment of the military rather than political voices in the fight against Boko Haram insurgents. Similarly, The Guardian leads with more lines after that Taraba International Investment Summit in Jalingo yesterday, as Zulum voiced the need to boost investment in the country. Zulum also accused certain military officers and politicians of acting as informants and collaborators for Boko Haram terrorists.
Okay, we gotta go.
Okay, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. We'll take a short break now. And when we return, we'll be talking to Kunle Adegoke, a senior advocate of Nigeria. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
In a land where every dreamer seeks security.
Hello? Najinka. I'm Mungama.
One name stands strong. With POW Pensions, your wealth is preserved, securing a future for your family. With POW Pensions, every contribution grows your future. Secure your tomorrow by starting today.
POW Pensions, your pal for life.
It's time for the main event. This is incredible. He has written it, and the dream lives on. I cannot believe it. They are in such a menacing mood here. Hear the place in all its magnificence.
Stay connected to D-Days TV this April and May and get all the football finals you want.
Africa's natural capital, vast, abundant, and worth trillions, matters. Youth, arable land, minerals, biodiversity. Time to make it work for the continent's prosperity is now. Join us at the African Development Bank Group's 2025 annual meetings from May 26th to the 30th in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire.
Are you struggling with a health challenge? Do you need financial help to access treatment?
I'm tired of trying. I need help. I want to try IVF. I know it's expensive.
Apply now for MHSS, the Maternal Health Service Support, a discounted loan by the W Initiative of Access Bank. For more information, visit our website on www.vwcommunity.com or any Access Bank branch nationwide. You can also send an email to wcares@accessbankplc.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Now this is tomato mix. Even after adding water, you can still taste the tomato flavor.
With Tasty Tom tomato mix, you can cook any of your customers' favorite meals.
No color changing like traffic lights.
Tasty Tom will surely give you value for money because Tasty Tom tomato mix is thick. A little is enough to get your desired quantity of stew and soup. No unfair deal.
Tasty Tom makes me so happy. The taste is always on point.
And it doesn't color your meat or your chicken.
Because of Tasty Tom tomato mix, the taste of my food never changes. So my customers keep coming.
I don't compromise on the quality of my food, so I buy quality from the onset. Use Tasty Tom enriched tomato mix.
Tasty Tom, for tasty meals good for you. Available in convenient sachets.
It's not technology that moves a nation. It's the people who dare to harness it. For over 25 years, TD Africa has been building the digital backbone of Africa, getting the right technology into the right hands. Today, we are the trusted distribution partner for global tech giants Microsoft, Starlink, IBM, Cisco, Dell, Huawei, HP, Zynox, EcoFlow, Samsung, Checkpoint, and more. We deliver genuine technology solutions to businesses across 47 African countries, from robust infrastructure to smart devices to cloud solutions that scale. We are here to make the digital economy work. Partner with TD Africa. Visit tdafrica.com or email inquiries at tdafrica.com. TD Africa, empowering you.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Almost a year after the Supreme Court's judgment granting financial autonomy to the 774 local government areas in the country, it is yet to be implemented. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Prince Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, has said that any state government that acted contrary to the judgment will face serious consequences. According to the AGF, the responsibility for implementing the judgment and ensuring direct allocation to local governments falls under the purview of the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. What many saw as a move to delay the implementation of the judgment was the introduction of a new condition by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, requiring all the 774 local governments to provide at least 2 years of audited financial reports before they could receive their allocations directly. The Apex Bank stated that the local governments must meet the requirements before opening accounts for direct remittance of their allocations. Joining us to discuss the delay in the implementation of the Supreme Court's ruling is Kunle Adegoke, a senior advocate of Nigeria. Welcome to the morning show, Mr. Adegoke, SAN. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Doctor. It's my pleasure to be here.
Well, Mr. Adegoke, where exactly is the problem? The CBN is saying that 2 years of audited financial reports should be submitted by the local councils before they can open accounts with the CBN for direct allocation. Is the CBN varying the judgment of the Supreme Court, or this is just procedural for purposes of transparency? 2, the affected local councils, 774 of them, and also the commissioners for the budget and finance and planning in the various states, they've come together in what they call a community of practice to work out a framework for how local government councils can get the disbursements. Well, what does this really mean? Framework, apart from what the Supreme Court had ordered, and why 1 year delay?
Thank you very much, Doctor, and I greet everybody in the studio. It's my pleasure to be here once again. The issue of local government autonomy and the decision of the Supreme Court vis-à-vis the implementation thereof has become a very turning issue. Insofar as 1 year after the judgment was delivered, it is yet to be implemented. The tendency is then to see the procedure being placed on ground for its implementation as carefully being woven to defeat the judgment itself. The Office of the Attorney General of the Federation has done the needful. The Attorney General of the Federation has gone to court, has succeeded in obtaining a judgment, which in implementation will require the Office of the Accountant General and the Central Bank of Nigeria to carry out. And in doing this, it would be unfair to the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation for such a judgment, a landmark judgment that even many in the legal circles believed might not be possible to be obtained because of the nature of the issues raised, for anybody now to attempt to delay the implementation thereof or even defeat its implementation in any form whatsoever. I want to believe that the condition placed on ground by the Central Bank of Nigeria is unwarranted, if not totally illegal. The reason is I am not aware if the state's governments are required to submit 2-year audited reports of their accounts before they could receive their monthly allocations. If that is not applicable to the states, why should it now be a condition for the local governments to receive their allocations? There isn't anything stated in the judgment of the Supreme Court that will require the CBN to put in place a condition of this nature. The Supreme Court has directed that there must be direct allocations to the local governments. And it is pardonable to agree that, okay, if the CBN, as earlier said, that the local governments should open accounts with the CBN so that there could be direct remittances. We could call this maybe something procedural, know your customers, financial regulation and some other things like that. That may be permissible. But with this issue of 2-year audited reports of accounts, I think it is just a hurdle that is unnecessary. One might even be suspecting that probably some state governors might be behind this stratagem of wanting to defeat the Supreme Court judgment. They have been fiercely opposed to the implementation of the judgment, and for the CBN to be coming up with this is actually highly suspicious. 365 days after the judgment was delivered, and we are still talking about how it is going to be implemented. When exactly are we getting out of such a doldrum? I think it is not a thing that we should be experiencing now. It is uncalled for. The CBN should do the needful, open the accounts, and I'm aware that majority of the local governments have even opened their accounts. So after opening the accounts, now coming up with another condition, it is a defeatist effort to make sure that this judgment of the Supreme Court will not be implemented. And the Attorney General of the Federation has warned that this will be met with severe consequences because no officer is above the law. Even if the state governors enjoy immunity, the limit to their immunity, everybody will be out of office one day. And whatever we do in office will definitely be called to account at a particular point in time. So the condition placed by the CBN, I don't think it is necessary. And I've not really seen a statutory requirement that placed this directly on the local government before they could access their funds.
All right. I'm going to step in at this point because I'm glad you're talking about consequences, because it seems that there are no consequences. This is a ruling from the Supreme Court that was said to have to be met with immediate compliance. But it seems that even though it's obvious to all that that is not happening and there doesn't seem to be genuine will for that to happen, there are no consequences. And again, the local government chairmen seem to be powerless. what do they have, what choices or options do they have within their rights at this present moment?
Thank you very much. I'm aware that NOLGI, the National Union of Local Government Employees as an association, has taken a step in this direction by filing an action. And I'm equally aware that ALGO, Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, has also filed an action at the Federal High Court. While these are steps that are necessary constitutionally to protect their interests, I want to believe that it is more or less trying to reinvent, by forcing the association to reinvent the wheel of accessing the funds that the Supreme Court should be made available to them. Why should there be an action to compel enforcement of a judgment already delivered by the Supreme Court? Why should there be an action to make sure that authorities will do the needful in implementing a judgment already delivered by the Supreme Court, when the Constitution itself, in Section 287, states that implementation of judgments of all courts will be a responsibility of all persons and institutions in Nigeria. CBN is an institution, the Office of the Accountant General is an institution established by the Constitution, and to that extent, they are amenable and obligated to carry out any judgment delivered by a court of law in Nigeria, not to talk of the apex court. In this circumstance, I believe that it might require the intervention of the president to compel the institutions involved to do the needful. I know, and I'm aware that recently the Attorney General of the Federation also issued statements of stern warning, trying to make sure that all institutions involved will carry out their responsibilities. Nothing could be better than what the Attorney General of the Federation has done in this circumstance. And the consequences that the Attorney General spoke about are consequences that are contained in the law. We are not talking about any extrajudicial step being taken by anybody, but whoever is violating the judgment of the Supreme Court must be aware that is running in contempt of the judgment of the Supreme Court. Even if it is the judgment of a high court or even a magistrate court, it is an egregious act for anybody to run contrary to the judgment of a court, not now talk of a decision handed down by the Supreme Court of Nigeria. There definitely must be consequences. And I think the big harm of the law may have to be wielded now to compel the institutions involved to carry out their responsibilities. Direct allocation has been ordered by the Supreme Court, and I don't see anything in this. Any local government that has opened an account with the CBN should receive its own allocation. Any local government that has not opened an account, yes, is the cause of its own problem, is the one delaying the receipt of his allocation. I'm aware that some governors are using a kind of force on their local government, the local government officers, to ensure that they will not comply with the requirement of opening an account. But it is not all local governments that are guilty of this. I'm aware that majority of the local governments have already opened their accounts, and after this, we should be hearing news now of local governments having been receiving their funds. The masses are the ones that are suffering because government is meant to be brought closer to the people, and that is why the Constitution established democratically elected local government councils in Nigeria.
How do you want us to believe in the judiciary in a country where a Supreme Court gives a judgment 1 year after it's not been effected? It's not a dysfunctional society. So, I mean, please help me make sense of it. Don't say I'm too dramatic. It's not a reflection of a dysfunctional society we live in. I can also count many judgments that the Supreme Court has given that till today has not been effected. Let's go to politics. Look at that of PDP as regards Anyanwu and the likes. God knows what has been done as regards. Look at that about Abure. So it has now gotten to a point in Nigeria that people don't even respect the Supreme Court again. So how can we live in a society where there is no respect for the Supreme Court, that the Supreme Court will give a judgment? It behoves on anybody to enforce it if they want to. It's not a joke of what the nation has become today. 1 year after, probably next year, we'll also come here and still talk about the fact that they've not done the judgments. Eh?
Yes, Mr. Rufai, I agree with you. Your anger is not misplaced in any form whatsoever, sincerely, because the highest court of the land is the Supreme Court. And that is an institution that commands very heavy and diverse powers. And to that extent, one would expect that if there is a decision by the Supreme Court, everybody should be on the alert to ensure that such a judgment is immediately carried out. We now have a situation where there are delays, there are direct refusals to implement judgments of the Supreme Court. It shows how very lawless many people in the executive offices could be. Executive offices in this regard is not talking about probably the presidency, because we know that it took the support of the presidency to ensure that the judgment of the Attorney General of the Federation took the step that Prince Fabemi SAN took to bring that particular case to the Supreme Court. And I am aware that the president on so many occasions even stated that his experience as governor in Lagos State, whereby his administration was denied the allocation due to the states, made him to feel compelled that all institutions in Nigeria must receive their allocations, more so the 3 tiers of government. And if that is coming from the presidency, one will expect that everybody should be ready to carry out their duties and obligations in this regard. We now have a civil service. We have institutions in Nigeria that are not behaving like institutions that desire that society should enjoy any form of progress within the ambit of the law and as mandated by the Constitution. We have institutions that are not only subverting the purpose of their own existence, they are equally subverting the interests of the people for whom those institutions were actually established. The law doesn't exist for its own sake. The law exists for the purpose of the people. Institutions are established by the law for the purpose of the people. The Constitution itself is not even a constitution that exists qua constitution for its own existence. It exists for the purpose of the interest of the people over whom the Constitution has provided that there must be governance and protection of their interests. And to this extent, one will want to believe that whether CBN, the Office of the Accountant General, the Ministry of Finance, whoever is involved, should rather be eager to implement this decision. I don't see how it affects the interest of such institutions personally. Yes, it is understandable if governors are complaining or they are taking steps. It is unpardonable for the governors themselves to want to subvert the Supreme Court judgment, because any one of them that is denied of his own allocation definitely will cry to the high heavens. And why should it now be happening to the local governments? Thank God that there are more funds coming directly to the states now, which justifies why they should be more responsible with their own financial allocations and should not depend on local government allocations that they've been using to subvert the interest of the people before. So at this particular point in time, I believe that the institutions involved will have to be compelled to do the needful. And the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation may have to start looking in this direction, maybe bringing contempt proceedings against officers or organizations within government that are responsible for the delay. That is what I believe. And the president may have to even wield the big stick by making sure that such officers who are established to be responsible for this delay will be shown the way out. And it's even going to be a financial crime for anybody to engage in this kind of process. And the EFCC and such organizations, anti-corruption organizations, may have to be brought in.
Okay. Mr. Adegoke here. The Supreme Court was very clear in affirming that local councils represent an independent tier of government in Nigeria. But we all know, and you have also adumbrated the point, that these state governors have been threatening the local council chairmen not to open any account. Now the Attorney General of the Federation has said, oh, there will be consequences if any state government does not comply. What consequences in specific terms? What penalties exist anywhere that these governors can possibly face? You have said they enjoy immunity, right? So what consequences? We need to be very specific. And then secondly, the same Attorney General, I think, is the one who recommended, apart from the central bank, that these 774 local governments should have uniform accounts. How is it possible for 774 local governments to have a uniform accounts for disbursement from the Supreme Court? That was not part of the Supreme Court ruling, or was it? But I'm more interested in what consequences. Otherwise, we'll be on this matter for the next 1 year, and nothing will happen. Yes. And the governors who have immunity will be threatening local government chairmen. And these local government chairmen and their councillors, they are houseboys of these governors. Politically speaking, that is.
Right. I believe it is a very complex situation to some extent, because we have agencies, we have individuals and government officials who are trying to frustrate the implementation of the judgment that it might be difficult to proceed against. For instance, while the governor enjoys immunity for the period that he is in office, we cannot wait until he is out of office before the judgment of the Supreme Court can be implemented. And in that regard, it is necessary to look in another direction of dealing with such governors. I am sorry to say this, but illegal act may call for an illegal response. And I think that the federal government might have to take a step in ensuring that these governors are compelled. An average governor in Nigeria cannot survive. No state government can survive without the allocation from the federation. If monthly allocations of the state government are withdrawn, I'm sure that definitely there will be immediate, you will see reactions. And in that regard, they will be compelled to allow the local governments to breathe. They will allow them to function. If such a step is not taken, I don't see any, because there is no provision in any statute that says, because yes, the federating units in Nigeria are the federation and the 36 states. Now with the local government as the third tier, yes, they form a sub-entity in the federation, in the scheme of arrangement of federalism too in Nigeria. And to that extent, one will want to expect that these levels of government, these tiers of government, maintain some measure of independence, but they are still dependent on one another for as stipulated by the Constitution.
Mr. Adebayo, right. I agree with you that it's really complex, because what you are recommending, what I'm hearing, is that you are saying one illegality should be corrected with another form of illegality. And then the Nigerian government should swim in illegality. No, that's the summary of what you have just said.
That is where we are coming to. I don't see how the Attorney General doesn't even have the power. Doesn't have the power to remove a governor. The president doesn't have the power to remove a governor. The House of Assembly that would have been, where there could have been allegation of gross misconduct, pursuant to which there could be the process of removal against a governor. Such House of Assembly are working in tandem with the governor. Majority of them are there at the sponsorship of the governor. And the governor enjoys, most of the governors enjoy the solidarity, camaraderie of these people who were sponsored into offices by the governor. There is no way one will expect such a House of Assembly to commence impeachment proceedings against their masters.
Mr. Adegoke, I have a shambolic and funny solution to your problem.
State of emergency.
Oh, great.
It's all right. Then you are right. It's a very complex situation where the rule of law, is suspended. Illegality to address illegality to address illegality. Quite an interesting country. Thank you very much, Kunle Adegoke, SAN, for joining us. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we'll be talking to Ibrahima, publisher, editor-in-chief, Niger Times. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's not technology that moves a nation. It's the people who dare to harness it. For over 25 years, TD Africa has been building the digital backbone of Africa, getting the right technology into the right hands. Today, we are the trusted distribution partner for global tech giants Microsoft, Starlink, IBM, Cisco, Dell, Huawei, HP, Zynox, EcoFlow, Samsung, Checkpoint, and more. We deliver genuine technology solutions to businesses across 47 African countries, from robust infrastructure to smart devices to cloud solutions that scale. We are here to make the digital economy work. Partner with TD Africa. Visit tdafrica.com or email inquiries at tdafrica.com. TD Africa, empowering you.
The Fidelity Gets Alerts in Millions promo is back and better. This time around, we're giving out a whopping 159 million naira. 10 customers stand a chance to win 1 million naira in the monthly draw. That's not all. You can also win 2 million naira, 5 million naira, and 10 million in the grand draw. To qualify, open any Fidelity savings account with 5K or fund your existing Fidelity account with multiples of 5K to get more tickets in the draw. Then sign up to either our mobile app, *770#, or get any of our Fidelity debit cards. Remember, the more 5K you save and transact, the more tickets you get into the draw. This promo is open to new and existing customers and runs from now till August 20, 2025.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word. We don't like to eat better, more nutritious meals, more veggies, but we want it tasty and easy too. No cubes. That's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic, and enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's the cocoa. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate.
True strength. What defines it? The brilliance of a player? Or when a team comes together to win? A solo beat? Or the rhythm of many? The flair of one dancer? Or the art of a troupe? One distinct voice, or the beauty of the symphony. At FCMB Group, we build ecosystems, empower communities, and create the future. Because we believe it's not just one, but the power of the group that delivers the future we all desire. FCMB, the power of the group.
Cannot hold a man up to a promise he made while he was naked.
In your world, where you're from, surely I would.
Oh, you coward! Awakens the love of a woman, sits back and does absolutely nothing about it.
Do you have the eye of a Lebara?
Where is the eye of Isha?
Do you know what Uju Elegbara is?
Oh, well, I am going to die here.
This place that nobody knows called Iluari.
Guy, with the rising cost of things, we need to plan our next move.
Guy, I agree with you. I mean, with the money we make, we should not be struggling with our finances now.
Maybe you both need better banking options.
What do you know about better banking options?
I recently moved my salary account to Polaris Bank, and since then, it's been a smooth ride for me. They bought over my existing loan and gave me better interest rates and repayment terms.
Are you serious?
Yes, as a Polaris salary account holder, I can get personal term loan, auto loan, mortgage, 50% salary advance, credit card, and more without going to the bank.
Really?
I've got a personal term loan already. See, here's my credit card too.
How do I make the move?
Simple. Open a Polaris salary account on Vault. Use salary account as your referral code.
My guy, I am moving my salary account now.
Get personal term loan and more with your Polaris salary account. Vault is available on Google Play Store and Apple App Store.
Salary earners.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now, there has been so much going on in Nigeria's political space in the past few months that looking ahead to what the future holds for our democracy tends to have question marks. Or from the many defections to the All Progressives Congress APC, which has raised the fear of a one-party state, to talks of mergers and coalitions from opposition parties in order to challenge the ruling APC. But in the absence of strong, viable opposition parties, what would the implications be for our democracy? Well, joining us to discuss this is Ibrahima, publisher, editor-in-chief of the Niger Times. He would also discuss the state of our educational sector, as many schools in urban areas are still underdeveloped, and what the focus should be for governors in order to empower young graduates with grants and reduce unemployment. Good morning and welcome to the program today.
Good morning. Good morning, Vimbai. Dr. Abat.
Yeah,
good morning.
Well, let's start with the political landscape.
Yeah.
The big story, where we started this morning, it's about coalition, the factions, the coalition looking for which special purpose vehicle to use, whether ADC or SDP, or to form a new political party. The ruling party saying, look, there's no vacancy in Aso Rock in 2027. Chairman of the party saying, people are joining from everywhere, Northwest, Osun State, everywhere, Delta State, most dramatically. What's your own reading of the political landscape ahead of 2027 at this moment?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Abati. Let's just say, personally, I'm not impressed. And, you know, from every circle, political circle, you expect some level of improvement. But what we served is complete disappointment. The political culture and the quality of engagement is I have to say it again, is very disappointing. Dr. Abati, this is the Fourth Republic, and we've been on this journey now since 1999. That's about 25 years or 26 years. I expected that with every political circle, there'll be some level of improvement in what we're seeing, with every circle of political engagement. Now look at the defections that we have seen recently. And I'm not sure we've seen that kind of defection in our entire political history. Yes, politicians move from party to party, but it's not evident that they just want to butter their breads, go to where it's convenient, where they can have, safe corners to hide themselves, and maybe contest again, or where all their sins will be forgiven. So as far as I'm concerned, this is not good for our democracy. The current culture of defection are moving to the APC. That is a huge threat for our democracy, Dr. Abat.
Oh. Right. Now, we often speak on the level of the subnational level of governors and so forth, but another place where there are concerning developments, and we've flagged this before, is in the National Assembly, where we're inching closer and closer to a 2/3 majority in the Senate. Now, we can speak of a one-party state, that's one thing, but a 2/3 majority in the National Assembly, the parliament of any country, is a concern. Do you see any feasible way to checkmate this, or should we just prepare for a National Assembly that in the past has been accused of being rubber stamped, but now they will have all the legality behind them to just rubber stamp whatever they wake up and feel like that day? How can we avert this crisis?
What were you expecting? We're expecting more people to move into APC, even from the National Assembly, even some of the governors from their body languages. So the 2/3 majority is given in the National Assembly. So already they are called a rubber stamp National Assembly. And I think only yesterday, or was it 2 days ago, the Senate President, Senator Akpabio, was saying that they're not there to fight the executive.
Yes.
Nobody is saying they should fight the executive. But there are checks and balances, in multi-party democracy. The role of the executive, the legislature, and the executive, they're supposed to complement each other as much as possible. But that does not mean one group should be subservient to the other. And that's the one that is also, very shocking in this current democratic dispensation. So it is like the more we look, the less we see. So expect more movement into APC. Is it the absence of a very strong opposition? As I said, threatens our democracy. And it is not good for our political culture. We need to do more because, one, you don't have alternative views. Two, there is, you also see a situation whereby people who are supposed to do oversight, they are not available. Everybody is now going into APC. So I don't know. There will be some kind of polarization, within the system, because at the end of the day, the one that shocked me was what happened in Delta State. I mean, Delta State has traditionally been a strong PDP state. But if you also see what is happening in PDP, what is happening in Labour Party, you ask yourself, should we even take these politicians seriously? What is their end game? We do not count, Nigerians don't count in this matter. I have said it here before. Nigerians are always reduced to the level of refugees in their own country. Whether, they agree with me or not, it doesn't matter. You expect that, especially at the subnational levels, that our governors will even improve the lives of our people. They are more interested in building airports and, government houses, palaces, to be called government houses, and not prioritizing the welfare of our people. Because really and truly, development should be more at the subnational level. Everybody keeps putting attention at the, federal government. So, who will move next to APC? That should be the next question.
There are many people, though.
We are waiting.
In fact,
because why is even
season.
Yes, transfer season. What is the price? This is just 2 years away, Rufai. 2 years to the election, and then the whole place is being. There's nothing wrong with the president contesting again for the second term. I don't see anything wrong with that. But why do we have all these carpetbaggers hitting up the polity, make it look like it is? It has to be like this. The president has every constitutional right to contest a second time. I mean, they don't need to preach, to the converted. So let them, 2 years from now, what is important is to strengthen our electoral process. We need electoral integrity, not forcing people to come and vote.
And speaking of that, there's been calls for reform in our electoral process. Do you think that this National Assembly will have the nerve to pass those reforms in our electoral process? Because those are the things we're not talking about. We're not talking about those reforms now. Those things we pointed out in the electoral laws in the last election, we've not fixed them. In fact, in recent times, our elections have gotten worse off. Look at the contention around Edo from the heights of 2023. So, where is it for us? What is in it for us, the people? We're just talking this morning that Supreme Court cannot even effect its own Supreme Court judgment. And I had to joke by saying, maybe the solution to the matter is state of emergency, because it's as if that's that one now. That's the only thing you can use to call governors to order now, which is also an aberration. Vimbai was pointing to me that the aberration even continues. What about the governors of states that are appointing caretaker local government chairman, which is also an aberration? So everybody keeps breaking the law everywhere possible. It's a state of, and that's why police will shoot indiscriminately and all of that. It's a state of disorder and chaos.
Yes, you mentioned a while ago that we're experiencing a dysfunctional society. Talking about the electoral reforms, I read a statement by Yaga Africa, Samson Itodo, I think about 5 or 6 days ago, emphasizing the need again for electoral reforms in our political system. And they issued that statement because the National Assembly, they're saying if you don't come out to vote, once you are 18 and above, you go to jail for 6 months. You vote in jail. I don't think going to vote is just a civic duty. Making it compulsory, you are even now also trampling on the rights of Nigerian citizens. You have the freedom of saying, I will not vote. And by the way, I will not bother with the trends, of the number of voters, Nigerians that come out to vote. There's so much voter apathy. The election 2 years ago, presidential election, we had just 27.1%, probably the lowest in our entire, history of coming out to vote at the polls. I think in 1999, it was about 34%. It went up 4 years later to about 38%. Those of, registered voters that percentage of registered voters that came out to vote. So it was only in, I think, in 2003, it went up to about 69%. But between then and now, it's been coming down to 57% to 55%, and 2 years ago it was 27.1%. I mean, that is really, really shocking if you ask me. Why are Nigerians not coming out to vote? Because they don't have any faith in the electoral process. So talking about strengthening, the process, we need to build public trust. That's the kind of reform the National Assembly should be looking at, not forcing people to come and vote.
Okay. By May 29, it will be exactly 2 years since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu assumed office. Already, the federal government is already organizing roadshow in London. Ministers are giving scorecard, and they've been giving very beautiful reports that this government has done very well in terms of stabilizing the Naira, in terms of attracting foreign direct investment. In fact, even the Pope invited the president of Nigeria to his inauguration, and so on and so forth. Now, in your opinion, as a citizen, how will you assess 2 years of the Tinubu administration? Because by 29th, that will be the major topic. In fact, by next week, that will be the major topic. What's your own assessment? The economy, energy, electricity, governance, education, the whole works. What do you think? Security, particularly.
Dr. Habati, we have to be honest with ourselves here. 2 years down the line, you expected some improvement in, quality of life of Nigerians, generally speaking. But if you pick them... You
are not seeing improvement. You are adding weight. You are looking robust.
Dr. Habati, I'm actually losing weight.
Isn't that improvement?
So if you look at each sector, I was there, I think 2 years ago, and I said it was too early in the day, to assess the administration. And that was in 2023. But take them sector by sector. You have a patriotic Nigerian, for example, like Dangote, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, who has invested, heavily in this economy, in different sectors. Now take the refinery, over $20 billion investment. And look at how he has been treated shabbily, by stakeholders in that same industry. Why are we still importing petrol when Dangote refinery says they can meet all our domestic needs? I mean, that should send very strong signals that something is wrong somewhere. But I'm happy with what the president has done with the new board and the management of NNPC. I think the team there, as far as I'm concerned, are technocrats, and I want to believe that they will do, a good job turning around the situation, with NNPC, because I did an article in the past complaining about NNPC, that it was just a waste pipe. We're losing so much money. And why are we importing petrol? You spend so much money on the refineries are not working, and there are no consequences. I think probably that's the biggest problem we have in Nigeria. That usually there are no consequences for bad behavior. And the more we continue to encourage mediocrity, poor performance, and bad behavior, nothing will change. So you talked about electricity. I was outside just now waiting to come in here as I drove in. I was hearing sounds of generator. Okay? That worries me because without stable and regular electricity supply, the manufacturing sector cannot thrive. Businesses cannot thrive. And I think there's no way so there's a consequential impact on our GDP. If we have a regular electricity supply, you see that the business, the different businesses will do well, productivity will improve. Ask the manufacturers, they will tell you what they have been going through because of poor electricity supply. Everybody is now going off the grid. How many of us can afford to go off the grid, Dr. Bati, to install solar panels? So I am disappointed again that we are still talking about electricity supply. I was again in Ghana recently, just 2 weeks ago. We stayed, the hotel we stayed, the light was steady throughout. I've mentioned this in the past. It's not to demarket our country, but you see, we need to get serious You know, we need to get serious with basic things like having steady electricity supply. Are we asking for too much? Now, what is the obligation of those in government, especially at the subnational level, to Nigerians? They are more interested in the local government not having, you know, being independent, having autonomy with how they manage their funds and receive money directly. The governors will never allow that. Supreme Court ruling, yes, it's good, but is it going to happen in reality? I don't think so. So these are the issues. And now you also alluded to the point that judgments are now given, it has two different versions by politicians. So we're just going low and lower every day, Dr. Abati. And it's like we're just in a jungle and it's for the survival of the fittest. I will just pray. But I always make the point too that we should never give up on Nigeria.
Yes, sir.
When, for some of us, we had the opportunity of living abroad many years ago, we said, no, we'll stay here. When we come together, you know, alternative voices are very important. That is why I'm also bothered about a very weak opposition. You know, where people can converse alternative views that can even be used by, you know, the party in power. You know, but that is not happening today. Everybody is just drifting to APC. So talking about performance, Dr. Abati, yes, the dollar was still selling at 1,625 in the black market. 1,625 naira in the black market yesterday. And for some of us, it gives us a panic attack. I have to be very honest with you. Life is very tough out there. You don't need anybody, any preacher, anybody to tell you that. Life is hard.
I'd love for us to take a look at the education sector, which is one of the things that you came here to discuss. A huge spotlight, of course, has been on education over the past couple of weeks, given the situation that we saw transpiring with JAMB, and some people saying that, well, you know, this is a positive signal because at least we're seeing reform in action. Yes, mistakes happened, but there's some sort of reform and we're seeing a step in the right direction. Some people saying that, well, this is just a litmus test, it just shows and proves that we're not getting it right. Where do you think we're getting it wrong, and where do you think we're getting it right as well, where education is concerned?
My biggest concern is with the state of infrastructure in public schools in Nigeria. And I think it's a conversation we had before, Dr. Abati, when we said, we all schooled here in Nigeria, you know, primary school, secondary school, to the university level. Schools were good. You know, then Ruben teased me and said, which school again? I went to Government College, really. Everything was perfect, working very well, you know. But I'm happy to report that there are still many schools today in urban centers where students in JS1 to SS3 sit on the floor. In today's Nigeria, I know of a particular school in a particular state. They have 100 SS3 students in one classroom. Some of them are hanging on the sill of the window, some are on the floor, some are standing. SS3 students. You know, they have two arms, A and B, in one class, C and D in another class. 100 SS3 students standing, some are sitting. I have photographs I can show to you guys. But, so that worries me, that in today's Nigeria, I'm not talking about rural areas, I'm talking about cities where these things are happening. So where is our priority? If they are more interested in the next election, politicians are more interested in moving from party A to party B.
Well,
where is the vision for the growth of this country?
Some might say this administration introduced NEL Fund, which has benefited many students. Is that not something positive to celebrate?
I will just express my own concern with the state of infrastructure. NEL Fund is good, and I have to thank Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for doing that. But we also have stories, call them allegations if we like, that those funds were being tampered with or diverted. We can't prove that, but if it happens, I will not be surprised, because the culture of pilfering, of stealing, of embezzling funds or padding budgets. I mean, I was listening last night, about how constituency projects are ballooning. You know, report by budget. You know, I think one Joshua Shiemi, he was on a rise last night, that even the current budget, they have over 11,000 projects that were inserted amounting to about 6.9 trillion naira. When we have schools in Nigeria that you don't have basic infrastructure, a desk that will sit 3 students and the chair, it's not more than 50,000 naira or 60,000 naira. A properly made desk and chair, sit. So where are we? What is our priority? And education and healthcare, they're very important when you talk about human capital development. So, Vimbai, the state, we can improve. Why do we have a lot of private schools? Even the number of universities, to be honest, we don't have enough universities. But the question you will ask is, the mushrooming of universities right now, it is not also a very good thing. I know look at the number of students that wrote JAMB. I think JAMB is a different conversation. We've had a lot of conversations on that at different times. 1.9 million students wrote JAMB, but how many can go into the university? And then the number of universities, they keep increasing, but most of those universities today, I'm sorry to say, they're just like glorified secondary schools. I don't know the quality. You have graduates these days who cannot even speak and write. So what is the quality of scholarship, learning in these schools, in these universities that are just all over the place? Who are the lecturers? Dr. Abati, maybe you should help us out here. Who are the, the quality of learning in these universities is very doubtful. There are too many. It's not like when we had the University of Benin, University of Lagos, University of Ibadan. And then let me add, what the university should be doing these days is to specialize in a particular area, not ignoring other courses. Let the university be known, for example, for law. Let another university be known for engineering, for medicine, for accountancy, and so on and so forth. That if you say you want to pick a university and your first course is law, you have to be very competitive. You must score a particular grade to go into University of A, B, C. And if you want to do medicine, University College Hospital in Ibadan was noted for, in
fact, it was the 5th best healthcare center in the Commonwealth in the 70s.
We had foreigners, Rufai, coming to
Saudi
UCH
Royal
Ibadan,
family.
For treatment. So what is the state of our healthcare today? The same problem. So you have private schools, you have private hospitals. They're hardly affordable these days. And then you're talking about improvement, quality of life. The medicine. Now, is it surprising now these days you just see people die, just slump and die? Cancer cases are increasing, kidney problems are growing because the medicine they are supposed to buy have become too expensive. The cost has gone up by more than 4 times, whether it's for hypertension, high blood pressure, or for blood sugar, or for some other problems that you have, medical issues. Very expensive, especially BP and blood sugar medicine. That is common. So a lot of people don't go to the hospital. They say they can't afford it. They want to embark on alternative medicine, and then we have crisis in our, people are just dropping dead. People will die. We don't have control over when we die, but at least let the basic things be done.
It's a sad reality of the nation we are in today. And as 2 years, comes just around the corner, you've been able to point out all of the challenges across every area. One area I wanted to talk about also is insecurity. The fact that we had decimated Boko Haram, they said before. But today we are hearing the resurgence of Boko Haram. Governor Zulum the other day was begging in Mate. I've been getting very scary reports coming out of Lilu, but kudos, to the forces out there. They've been reacting to that. And almost everywhere you go in the country, there's a breakdown of security, one way or the other. To the extent that Governor Zulum want to say that there are politicians that are informants and they're bad eggs in the military at this point in time. APC, one of the reasons why APC came into government was there was a consensus among most of political watchers then that, President Buhari, as a former military officer, would do better the level of insecurity, but nothing changed. Now it's getting worse off. As we wrap up.
Yeah, thank you, Rufai. I'm worried myself with this escalation of killings, mass killings, especially in Benue State, Plateau State, Borno State. I mean, I've been seeing footages of the governor and the stories from Borno State. It is heartbreaking. It's like, I don't know why this problem is beyond us. In spite of the best efforts of our security agencies, it's something I cannot explain or understand. You know, so it is for us, I mean, the policy, Mr. President's court, to say, hey, what do we do next? You know, how do we move forward with the security challenges? Because the fact that it's happening in Benue today, it's happening in Plateau, it's happening in Borno, does not mean the rest of us are safe.
Yes.
That's the truth.
Yes.
It doesn't mean. So a security challenge or threat in one part of Nigeria is a threat to every part of the country and every part to everybody. So I think this matter needs to be looked into urgently and addressed. I don't know why we're having this problem, and it is not going away like a virus. So please, Mr. President, I want to appeal to you to please call all the defense chiefs, security agencies. I know meetings are going on, but maybe we need to just change our approach and our tactics, except the other things we do not understand that are going on, that is making this security problem, you know, refusing to go away. You know, so, but we pray for peace and progress of our country. We're going to do that. And we pray that the best men and women will lead us in different positions in our country.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I think right about now we'll just take a break and we move on to other things.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Very insightful. Well, we do continue to keep our tabs on governance and all that will be transpiring as we count down to marking the midterm anniversary of the Tinubu administration. Well, it's time for a short break now. When we return, Aaron Akirajola will be here with Global Sports Update. Do stay with us.
Cannot hold a man up to a promise he made while he was naked.
In your world, where you're from, surely I would. Only a coward awakens the love of a woman, sits back and does absolutely nothing about it.
Do you have the eye of Elegbara?
Where is the eye of Isha?
Do you know what Elegbara is?
Oh, well, I am going to die here.
This place that nobody knows called Iluari.
Some say learning is fun, but as a mom, I see how demanding it can be for my child. That's why I ensure he starts every day with a cup of Bonvita. Give your child Bonvita. It contains essential vitamins and minerals that support mental and physical vitality. Bonvita. Prepare them to win every day.
As part of our strategy to support the growth of homegrown businesses, we are pleased to announce the launch of the Fidelity SME Hub, a dynamic initiative designed to empower youths and small and medium-scale enterprises. The Fidelity SME Hub will offer a world-class facility with modern training halls, meeting rooms, and networking spaces. 2 globally certified music studios, a photography studio, a content studio, and podcast room to support entrepreneurs in the creative industry. Access to industry experts and mentors. The Fidelity SME Hub, helping businesses to grow, thrive, and prosper.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Every vibration on my phone opens the door to something different. As an award-winning actress, it's a chance to share ideas and stories that resonate. Stories that reflect my journey, passion, and authentic self. So,
To deliver excellence, I go all out just for that perfect balance. Thankfully, Cosmo does it for me. The Cosmo range of skin, hair, and body care products caters to my everyday needs. With its nourishing ingredients and gentle formulations, Cosmo not only restores my natural radiance, it refreshes me for whatever comes next. Cosmo, for the love of beauty. Marketed and distributed by GPS Cosmetics.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now for updates on sports stories from across the globe, Aaron Akirajola joins us this morning. Good morning, Aaron the Baron.
A very good morning to you today. I want to say it's a bright and sunny day here in the Gateway State, Ogun State. The National Sports Festival still heating up as I speak to you. And I must say kudos to all the athletes that are competing and competing fair. We must actually put that into context because certainly they've read the riot act talking about the National Sports Commission and the main organizing committee of the National Sports Festival have actually read the riot act to those athletes in terms of competing and competing clean. And quickly, let's get into today's action. And it doesn't get bigger than swimming, I must actually say. And Doctor, this is to you. Ogun State seems to be blazing the trail with the governor, Prince Dakwa Abiodun, promising the athletes that win gold and bring back gold, 2.5 million naira, silver, 1.5 million naira, and bronze, 1 million naira. Certainly has buoyed them in the swimming competition and I must say that Ogun State, two of their swimmers have actually won gold right in breaststrokes. Of course, let's start it off with Kolade Otula in the men's 100-meter backstroke. Otula did that in emphatic fashion, and I must say kudos to him and the rest of the Ogun State contingents who are doing so well in swimming. I must actually say that this is a competition that Nigeria hasn't really excelled in. And we've spoken about the competitive edge it gives to teams that participate in it because it's an opportunity for medals to actually pour in. Michael Phelps is the most accomplished Olympian in the world, all thanks to the fact that he blazed the trail in swimming. Swimming, he can win as much as 20 medals in a single competition or in a single festival or games. So let's see how that one actually goes. Away from that, also, tennis has been hitting up nicely here. And I am saying that as it stands right now, we are looking forward to more because tennis just begun and we are expecting it to get into the business end. But before then, let's actually talk about some other things that are actually going on. At the moment, the main organizing committee of the National Sports Festival are complaining that there are too many, I will not call them ghost workers, but there are too many athletes that are not accredited and officials that are not accredited that are in the Games Village that is in Backup University because at the moment they said that they according to their list, 9,500 athletes are meant to be in the village. But when they did their count and they did their tally, 11,500 are being fed on a daily basis. So they want to go on a pruning and screening exercise to ensure that they actually cut down the numbers to as many as they can. As we actually get into the medal table, I must say that Bayelsa still blazing the trail at the moment. And I must say kudos to Team Bayelsa. They've held it for 2 days right now. And we're hoping that it actually continues in that particular faction, bringing in 16 gold, 6 silver, and 3 bronze as of 6 p.m. yesterday. More medals will be won today, and Delta are second, Oshun's third, Rivers fourth, Lagos fifth, or your sixth. Looking at some of the events that would actually happen today, let's talk about the fact that beach volleyball will be having the conclusion to beach volleyball today. So we're looking forward to that one. Quite interesting, I must say. Cricket would also be happening at the MK Abiola Stadium. Handball, swimming, then handball for the males, squash, volleyball, golf, boxing, kickboxing, would all be happening today. Now let's talk about the fact that athletics will begin warming up today for the weekend, and that is the sweet spot of the National Sports Festival, I must actually say. Now, moving away from that, just quickly, just to touch on some big news that are actually coming in. All right, congratulations have been pouring in, of course, being led by the chairman of the National Sports Commission, Atiku, who has heaped congratulations on the Nigeria Football Federation's president at the moment, Ibrahim Gusso, and he has said, well done for clinching that particular seat as the president of WAFU B. We need to see more of administrators strutted out on the continent and on the global stage, because that is how we can bring administration, better administration, and more inclusiveness to Nigerian sports, and we just not being an island to ourselves. And the biggest news in the world of sports is that after huffing and puffing, having a rotten season, Tottenham Hotspur have a reason to smile, because in the Europa finals in Bilbao yesterday, Tottenham Hotspur beat Manchester United 1-0. And that is all that needs to be said. And Pochettino, after all of the backlash he's faced over the years and his time with Tottenham Hotspur this season, he can say that he has done it. For the first time, they've won a trophy since 2008, and the first European trophy since 1984. Kudos to them. Manchester United officially have had their worst season in their history, because their man Amorim has lost more games than he's actually played. The last time this happened was in the 1930s. What a shame. What a shame. How the mighty fallen.
Aaron, don't talk about it too much. You see, people like us were hoping that Man United will get something yesterday so that Dr. Abati will not be upset that much, because we know he's a latent Man United fan. But things didn't go his way, so don't put pepper on it. Is it because you just barely qualify for the Champions League that you're not rubbing pepper and say since 1930 you are quoting history? Don't make it painful. Eh? So we know it was a fluke goal that Spurs scored. Don't worry, Dr. Abati. The village people that are worrying Amorim, they will leave him alone, and they will leave him. Congratulations to Diku on Wafu B. He stopped showing the inside, stopped showing a trophy for Spurs. It's Man United we're supporting here. But also, my pain is, so what was now the logistics that was done on the accreditation of athletes at the sports village in Babcock? If there was supposed to be about 9,000, we are seeing over 11,000, then how did they admit athletes? I think these are the questions we should ask the local organizing committee. What was the process? How many athletes are we admitting in total at that sports festival? And why is it that the host states are not seeing Ogun State on the first three on the medal table? Please, can you help me ask questions for the local? Where is Ogun State there? Where? Bayelsa, Delta, or that's Ogun. Ogun is 3 now.
It's Oshun.
Is it Oshun? I can't see very well.
It's Oshun.
Oshun, God, Jesus Christ.
We're not in top 10.
Ogun is not in top 10?
No.
Jigbi, oh. What position is Ogun now, Aaron? They are hosting. Please.
Ogun State are not. Ogun State are not. We are hoping that this is a tonic to get Ogun State up there.
Take that S to G.
States like Delta, states like Lagos, states like Bayelsa have invested heavily in sports over the years, and they are reaping the dividends. So that's what I can say. We hope that this is the tonic to get Ogun State up there.
You know, Aaron, what was very welcome news to me is when I read that I believe 3 boxers came in from the United Kingdom to fight for Team Kaduna, which I think is phenomenal, is that, you know, we normally, of course, we do normally see international athletes coming in to represent Nigeria. But if we can get that international standard competing at these grassroots games, that also ups the ante, and it also gets people more excited, the athletes themselves more driven, because they're competing against people who have that international exposure, international training, and hopefully some of that can also be passed down. So for me, I think that was the highlight when I heard that. And then, of course, I'm a big fan of swimming, since, you know, we are multiple gold medalists, Olympic gold medalists in Zimbabwe on swimming. So you guys are trying, you're learning work, you know, we can give you a few pointers, some notes here and there for Ogun State swimming to, to come up. To come up.
It's a white woman, though. Not even black Zimbabwe, though.
Is it not Zimbabwe passport she's carrying? Thank
it's
you.
The Coventry, white woman.
The medal is sitting in Harare.
Okay, very quickly, I think it's important that there is an audit of the athletes staying at the Babcock University hostels. Governor Abiodun had made it very clear that Ogun State is a state of very hospitable people, and everybody should come and be part of the sports festival, and that people are welcome. Now, people may have interpreted that literally. Some people may have gone to Ogun State with their wives, with their girlfriends, with their children to stay with them at the Games Village, thinking that this hospitality, can be stretched, and they are busy eating free food. So the hospitality of the Ogun State government as hosts, should not be taken literally for granted. So there should be a proper audit. All those associated personalities that may be in Ogun State just to eat free food, not for sports. They should be properly accounted for. Maybe some problem with the registration process. And this is the thing about transparency and accountability in Nigeria. The people are part of the problem, even where, government officials may fail. Now, quickly, as for Tottenham Hotspur, yes, congratulations to them, but particularly to Postecoglou. He had boasted that he always wins trophies in his second year. And people were waiting for him to say, well, look at you. But this time around, he has proven it, and he has said, look, I'm a winner. I've done it. So he's won the Europa League. But however, there are issues in the club. A lot of friction in-house, a lot of injuries, a lot of disappointments. Before now, there has been talk that Postecoglou will have to leave Tottenham Hotspur. Out of 37 matches in this season, they lost 21. But he says, well, even if he has to leave, no problem. He doesn't know what the future holds. But what he has done with this Europa League trophy is that even if he has to leave sports, he will be walking through the front door, not through the back door. So that's that about that. As for Ruben Amorim, well, Ruben Amorim, yeah, very poor performance by Manchester United, the worst since 1974 season, and that's surprising. But however, he has the support of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, he has the support of the board of the club, and so he may not necessarily lose his position. We're hoping that for the next season, they will get strikers, people who can score goals, because they don't seem to have. The only person they have that can still score goals is probably Bruno Fernandes. Yeah, but they will need strikers who can deliver. Postecoglou, he was lucky. He changed his tactics. You know what they call Angiball, attacking football, which made him lose and perform so badly in the Premier League. But he changed his tactics that day. After the very dull first half, during the second half, we saw a different Spurs. They were defending. They held on to that one goal that was scored. And people said, well, this is a different ball game altogether. But congratulations to Tottenham Hotspur. Manny Pacquiao, the welterweight world champion at the age of 40 in 2019. He went into politics, ran for Senate in the Philippines. He lost. Now he says he's back and he wants to win. He wants to be the welterweight world champion for the 5th time. The problem is that he's 46 years old. Well, I don't know whether that's possible at 46 to still punch so heavily, and whether or not his foray into politics will have affected him. But the board of boxing in Nevada has already licensed him afresh. He has passed medical tests. He will be back in the ring. Let's see what happens when Pacquiao goes back into the ring. Thank you very much, Aaron. We'll take a short break now. And when we return, we'll be talking to Abu Kefas, governor of Taraba State. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch for easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Highness, you will reign forever. Yes. Yes, you.
Governor Ogao.
Guy, with the rising cost of things, we need to plan our next move.
Guy, I agree with you. I mean, with the money we make, we should not be struggling with our finances now.
Maybe you both need better banking options.
What do you know about better banking options?
I recently moved my salary account to Polaris Bank, and since then, it's been a smooth ride for me. They bought over my existing loan and gave me better interest rates and repayment terms.
Are you serious?
Yes, as a Polaris salary account holder, I can get personal term loan, auto loan, mortgage, 50% salary advance, credit card, and more without going to the bank.
Really?
I've got a personal term loan already. See, here's my credit card too.
How do I make the move?
Simple. Open a Polaris salary account on Vault. Use salary account as your referral code.
My guy, I am moving my salary account now.
Get personal term loan and more with your Polaris salary account. Vault is available on Google Play Store and Apple App Store.
Salary earners.
Welcome back to the Morning Show right here on the Rise News channel. The federal government has expressed readiness to partner with Taraba State to boost economic growth and attract investment in the state. President Bola Tinubu made this commitment during the first Taraba International Investment Summit held in Jalingo, Taraba State. Folashade Daramola reports.
2025 Taraba International Investment Summit was declared open by Vice President Kashim Shantima, who represented President Bola Tinubu. Vice President Shantima reaffirmed the government's commitment to supporting Taraba State in unlocking its vast investment opportunities, particularly in agriculture, energy, and mining.
This administration has rolled out various interventions to boost agricultural productivity and reduce our dependence on food imports. Taraba's role in this region is central. From the export-grade tea and coffee grown on its hills to the livestock raised here that feed the nation's feed industry. This sector is an agricultural powerhouse that must be fully harnessed.
Taraba State Governor Abubakar assured potential investors of the state's peaceful and secure environment, saying that his administration has put in place mechanisms to ensure that investors at the summit return for long-term partnerships.
Today, our leader, the Vice President, is here to approve this investment to the whole world. What I will say now is that Taraba is peaceful, Taraba is safe, Taraba has huge human resources. Taraba has huge natural resources. And today I have created a good business enabling environment for all investors.
On his part, the UBA chairman, Tony Elumelu, emphasized the role of private sector in driving regional development and job creation. The event drew an impressive lineup of dignitaries, including Governor Umar Bago of Niger State, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, and the Oni of Ife, Adeyeye Eniton Ogunwusi.
Taraba aspires to realize its potential and grow its economy sustainably. It must endeavor to leverage private sector resources, including, like Aliko Dangote said, finance, skills, and technology.
Give a word of advice, Your Excellency. The only way for you to attract foreign investments or investors is by having local investors. Domestic investors are the ones that actually attract foreign investors.
Taraba State is a land of immense opportunity. Taraba State, from my own personal experience as an entrepreneur, there is nothing in terms of natural resources that you can't get from Taraba State.
Participants at the summit themed Unlocking Taraba's Investment Potentials, Advancing Agriculture, Energy, Mining, and Industrialization for Sustainable Growth and Development, praised the state government's bold initiative and called for policies that will further open Taraba to local and international investors. Kolashade Daramola, Arise News.
So joining us now on the show to discuss the maiden edition of the Taraba International Investment Summit and how the state intends to attract investors to unlock the untapped resource of over $500 million is Abu Kefas, Governor of Taraba State. Welcome to the show. Very novel one, I should say, and thank you so much for doing this. This is long overdue. Please sell Taraba State to millions of viewers all over the world, and great work you're doing there. Please go ahead. Can you hear me, Your Excellency? I say sell Taraba State to the world.
I can hear you.
Morning, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to thank you very much for also attesting to what we are doing in Taraba State. As I've earlier said, it took us a journey of 2 years now to bring Taraba to the globe. So right now where we are, Taraba is ready, Taraba is set, Taraba is peaceful. And this has been a collective understanding between the government and the people. So Taraba is open to the whole world for investment. And that is why we have to put this program in place, and you can see the crowds, the investors, the respected Nigerians, including the president, Mr. President. You can see that he endorsed this summit because this is what we need at this time. And I believe that other states too will be prepared. So this is where we are, and we have opened to all the investors in the world to come to Taraba. And with the help of the federal government, I think we'll be able to achieve that.
So what do you have to sell to the world? Like I asked, I said sell the state. What do you have to sell? What are the resources there? What are the things there, Your Excellency?
Right now, just like you can observe, we already invest in Taraba. Is a very good initiative to be able to open up the state to investors. Right now, whatever we are doing is very comprehensive, is friendly, and then is backed by a very strong policy that will enable the investors to invest in Taraba.
In Taraba State, we are looking at agriculture. We have about 54,000 square meters of land that is arable, good for all kinds of crops, all kinds of weather. In fact, we can farm 365 days continuously in Taraba. So we have enough farmland for investors that want to invest in agriculture. Also, fishing. We have very good rivers that we have very sweet fish in all these rivers and other underwater elements or animals that people can also look at. And then we are talking about livestock. I'm still talking about agriculture and food security. We have enough land for grazing, natural grazing for people that want to go into livestock business. It's open for them. And also in the area of mining, we have all kinds of mineral resources that are here. And we're working together with the Ministry of Solid Mineral to ensure that we do or carry out a responsible mining activities, that all communities will be involved and the environment will be also protected. So in the area of mining too, we are opening up mining for the whole world to come and mine in Taraba. Then if you look at the area of energy, we have so much energy resources, hydro resources in Taraba for hydropower, and also alternative energies like solar and so on. So Taraba is actually open. Even in the area of the mineral we are talking about, we have so much deposit of lithium here. So investors can take advantage of that to set up manufacturing plants in the state to be able to
thank you so much for that
drive economically.
Thank you for that robust
looking at the area
portfolio of some of the assets and opportunities available in Taraba
tourism.
State.
We have Gashaga,
Your Excellency, can you hear me?
We have so much, the Kashimila area, the mountains around Jalingo, so many things for tourist attractions here in Taraba. So we are open to the world for investment.
It's a pleasure to hear that Taraba State is open for business. And, I'm glad that you laid out all of the prospects and opportunities available. I'm glad you mentioned the Kashimbila area, and you also mentioned hydropower, because since completion in 2019 and, following so many successive governments, this power plant, this hydroelectric power plant and all of its potential is still not functioning at its potential and its maximum capability. Now, I know we're trying to resolve some audio issues with the governor, but I'd just like to know some of the progress, some of the challenges when he joins us again. Yesterday was a wonderful outing and a great show of support for the governor and for the potential of Taraba State. Like he rightfully said, besides agriculture, I know the Vice President highlighted coffee and tea from the hills of Taraba State as great potential. And there's in the mining sector, he spoke about lithium, mineral dense, and it's a strategically located state as well. So I think phenomenal.
And the state is so ready that a top citizen of the state also facilitated building an airport recently. All right, so there's a place to land. It's not that you have any skirmish. It's not that they're just building any new airport. There's a place to land when you come out there. Also, borders, I think borders and parts of Cameroon, rich potential, great region, great climate, and like you said, he has fixed the problem of insecurity in that area. So, Vimba, just go ahead with your question.
Mr. Governor, I'd said thank you so much for highlighting, some of those opportunities and the potential of Taraba State. But very quickly, as you spoke of the Kashimbila area and the Kashimbila Dam, What is it that is stopping this dam from being able to work at its maximum capacity as a hydroelectric power source? Because we know electricity is our problem, and we have this massive dam that has a capacity to solve a lot of the pressure on the grid. So why is it that successive administrations have been unable to get this dam to operate? And what are your plans to get this dam up and running as a hydroelectric power source?
Thank you very much. If you are following the trend of events, you will understand that the dam, the Kashmir Dam, has been concessioned. And there are some private individuals that have taken charge of the dam. And they are still working on the handing and taking over and the preparation on how it will go into full operation. So I'm very, very sure that by the time that is done, maybe before the end of August, because we are liaising with them, by the end of August, we'll be able to make proper use of that dam to supply energy to people. And I think that dam can produce up to like 40,000 megawatt or thereabout. So I can't tell, but I believe very soon the dam will be fully operational. And you know, there are so much opportunity around that very area for irrigation, farming, and the rest of things like that, fishing and the rest. So our people are waiting, they're eager, and we have engaged in training some of them so that once it starts, it will be a full-scale economy activities around that area. So I believe that very soon we'll be able to operate from there.
Okay, Governor. First, congratulations on Tara Best. Well, successful outing. You had in attendance Alhaji Aliko Dangote, you had in attendance Mr. Tony Elumelu. Both of them said publicly that your state is business friendly. But they also offered advice. They said, look, you should not just focus on foreign investors. You should also encourage domestic investments. The Vice President described your state as an agricultural powerhouse. What he said was also corroborated by former Governor Bago, Governor Bago of Niger State, also commending you. But both the Vice President and Farmer Bago were also saying, look, there's a lot more that can be done. Now, I'd like to ask you, for you personally, as the man behind the vision, what are the big takeaways for you from that summit on the basis of, you know, the views expressed and what possible outcomes should we expect?
Thank you very much. Yesterday was one of my happiest moments because the only way you can sell the state is to collaborate with very important personalities and successful businessmen like Dangote and Tony Elumelu. I've hit their advice, and actually the summit is to open up to the world because most of businesses in Nigeria are not very, very strong. I'm sure Dangote has his own experience. If he start telling you his experiences here, you know, it can be very discouraging for other local investors, and also the same thing to international investors. But the only thing, just like the advice that can make international investors to come in is when they see the local people, the indigenous investors, you know, also trying to invest or they're investing, it will also build their confidence. And what I'm here to do is to create that enabling environment for the two, the local and the internationals, to come together, because we are not just thinking of localizing whatever is coming out of the state, we are thinking of also export. So without collaborating with international investors, most of the things will only be showcased or consumed here alone. So I've taken their advice and we're going to work on that. Now, the challenge or the situation that is before me right now is how to convert or apply or ensure that all that have been said yesterday and all the investors that attended this summit are able to come together to put all that we have decided to do in place. So I'm setting up a team that will look at the post-investment summit and then come up with advice for us on how to follow up to ensure that we achieve what we need. And we cannot do anything without the backing of the federal government. So at the end of everything, I have to get back to Mr. President to give him a directional strategy and plan on what I have on ground as a follow-up to the summit. And once that is achieved and we're working together, I think we'll be able to break the ground. So I believe that so much can be done from here. And already I've been encouraged and I'm very, very focused in what I'm doing. And I believe that very soon we'll see the result of all this.
Well, thank you very much, Governor Agbo Kefas, for joining us on the program. Governor of Taraba State, discussing Taravest with us. Thank you very much indeed. We take a short break now. And when we return, Sheito Atigarin will be here with details on what's trending. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Niger, it's time to rise to victory because season 10 is here.
You did not come and greet. I'm coming for the crown.
Nigerian Idol needs to bang. You're actually my idol. Say yes from me. That was good. I'm here for a revenge. I'm speechless.
10 seasons of unforgettable talent.
That's the best performance I've had today.
10 seasons of breathtaking performances. And this year, we celebrate the journey like never before.
I'm actually speechless.
I love you.
You're a superstar.
This is more than a competition. It's a celebration of music, passion, and dreams. It's your voice and your victory. Don't miss the biggest season yet. Nigerian Idol Season 10.
Sponsored by Biggie for every moment.
In a land where every dreamer seeks security.
Hello? Najinka. I'm Munga.
One name stands strong. With POW Pensions, your wealth is preserved, securing a future for your family. With POW Pensions, every contribution grows your future. Secure your tomorrow by starting today.
POW Pensions, your pal for life.
What will banking look like in the future? For over a century, we've been growing to meet the needs of an ever-changing world, delivering unique solutions to help our customers reach increasingly bigger dreams. Innovating to create an exciting new world of convenience and freedom, where what you can achieve is only limited by your imagination. Opening up new, more inclusive channels for commerce. Empowering a new generation to reach beyond their dreams and grow into the giants they were always meant to be. We're helping to create a future where the possibilities are infinite, the opportunities borderless, and where the world looks up to Africa. Let's awaken the giant in you. You first. First Bank.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now is Sheitan Atigari with stories trending around the world. Hello, Sheitan.
Good morning, Doctor. Good morning,
morning.
Vimbai. Good morning, Rufai.
Morning.
Yes, let's get into what is trending today. Let's start with this story. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Dangiwa, and the Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ola Olukoyede, have jointly inspected a confiscated estate comprising of 753 housing units previously owned by former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele. Now, the estate in Abuja was recovered by the EFCC and handed over to the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development following a directive from President Bola Tinubu. During the inspection on Wednesday, Dangiwa said the ministry would begin technical assessments, including integrity tests on the buildings. He added that once cleared, the housing units will be completed and made available for purchase by Nigerians through the already active Renewed Hope Housing portal. Now, the ministry's Director of Press and Public Relations, Badamasi Haiba, released a statement yesterday and said that the government of the day is very serious about fighting corruption, and he described this as a landmark recovery, as one of the most significant in the nation's history within a short span of time. 753 housing units. That's a lot.
And that's a landmark recovery. And kudos to this government as regards that. That's a landmark recovery, because when that case, was on, and I think most of the part of that case is still on, Anyway, there's been a rebuttal also too. They're saying that the houses were linked to Emefiele, that is not really the case and all of that. And the government is insisting and said, okay, it's houses recovered from Emefiele. But whatever it is, corruption has no place in our country, and it should be totally condemned. But it also needs to go across board. If this government is saying that they are fighting corruption, we need to get a report of what has transpired during the Betta Edu's case. We need to get a report of what transpired during, what is it called? I've talked about the Betta Edu's case. We need to also get a report of what transpired, other corruption cases and allegations that have transpired since the time of this government. We need to get a holy. I know the Minister of Health has talked about the fact that, Minister of Education has talked about the fact that, there's no corruption in health fund and all of that. We also need to get a proper investigation into all that has transpired. We also need to look holistically into what has transpired with the NNPC. How this government spent over billions, Warrior and Port Harcourt refinery. And we need to get receipts so that it's holistic across board. The fight against corruption, we also need to get to the end of the Ayabilu case. Also, we also need to look at what has transpired, this Naira flunking, whatever, and everything, and don't decimate the Naira and everything and all of that. There are some people that we have seen videos of them spraying Naira. Till today, the EFCC said they will call up Tom Polo. We are still waiting for that. Or this fight against corruption must not be selective. It must be seen to be spread across board. All the recovery must be based. About over a year after now, we've not seen the full investigative report. If Betta Edu is free, what really transpired? We need to be able to get accountability. That's just it. It's not only one-sided fight against corruption. That's just my point. But this is a good one, a good one, this government.
Very quickly, there's a bill that has passed second reading in Senate, which seeks to take away some of the powers of the EFCC and ICPC in asset recovery and create a centralized asset recovery firm. Question mark, because we ask ourselves, do we need so many different agencies to be involved in, investigating, prosecuting recovery of assets? I think it's a conversation to be had, because what people ask now that, okay, fine, the units have been handed over. What will happen to them now? That's what we want to do. We want to follow the money to the very end, not that EFCC says they have handed over to the federal government. What happens next? We want to follow this story to its logical conclusion until these assets are auctioned or, whatever they do with them. We just want to make sure that we are kept in the loop until the final conclusion, and not that we hear that, people who are close to, those in power have now miraculously acquired these properties or have found some, benevolent use for them. So I think that's my prime focus.
All right, then, Dr.
Okay, the EFCC under the Enabling Act, the extant law, has powers to seize assets, has powers to push for forfeiture of assets, has powers to dispose of assets that have been forfeited. And so in this particular matter, the EFCC has acted within the authority of the law. Now, this particular case, when it first came up, the EFCC pushed for an interim order of forfeiture, which was granted December 2, 2024. Then he pushed for a final order of forfeiture, final forfeiture order. That was granted on December 24, 2024. Now, at that time, there were speculations about the ownership of the 753 buildings or estate, whatever it is called, units. Now, when it was April 2025, Mr. Godwin Emefiele approached the Federal Capital Territory High Court to ask for an extension of time for him to appeal in the case because he was an interested party in the matter. That's what happened in the court of Justice Onwegbuzie, and Justice Onwegbuzie ruled that the matter had become functus officio. In other words, the matter had been settled, the matter had been determined. So, having been functus officio, it was on the basis of that that the EFCC now has proceeded to dispose of the assets on behalf of the federal government. So I've given a quick rundown of what the law says. Emefiele at the time said he wasn't aware of the matter in court, but the judge said, look, this matter was in all the prominent papers. If you were the owner, if you were in an interested party, you acted out of time also. Anyway, now they are handing over the 753 units to the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. That ceremony was concluded yesterday. The Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development says it will carry out technical evaluation, it will evaluate other things that need to be done, it will complete the assets, it will sell the assets under the Restored Hope agenda, and that the public will be, renewed hope agenda, and the public will be free to come and purchase these assets. Well, the whole idea of forfeiture of assets is that persons who have been found guilty of committing a crime and all of that, are not allowed to enjoy the proceeds of the crime. However, the big question that we can insist upon is transparency and accountability. Because this Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, that they say they will sell the assets, they have to be fair.
Yes.
The process has to be transparent.
Yes.
In fact, maybe certain categories of government officials should not be allowed to bid for those properties.
Yes.
In fact, the people who are going to dispose of the assets, they must not be beneficiaries.
Yes.
Their relatives must not be beneficiaries. Let it not be that, you say you are clearing proceeds of crime, and then some other people will engage in criminal enterprise and capture the same assets, because this is Nigeria. That's what we can call for.
All right, then let's move on to our next story very quickly. As citizens continue to raise concerns about the conditions of streets across Lagos State, enforcement agencies are stepping up action. Officials of the Lagos Waste Management Authority and the Lagos State Environmental Sanitation Corps have arrested a man by the name Ogunbadejo Olawale for dumping waste by the roadside in the Alakpere area. The arrest was announced by the Commissioner for the Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, in a post on his X handle on Wednesday. Wahab said the suspect was caught red-handed dumping refuse illegally in public. Now, I think we had a story, I think it was on Tuesday, where we were talking about the states. We were talking about the fact that Lagos is smelling people, of course, dumping refuse. Yeah. And there's so much that can be done. But of course, Tokunbo Wahab very, very eagerly shared this arrest to show that, okay, the citizens also have a hand in it, and we're doing what we can to make sure that the consequences actually, match the actions. Your thoughts?
Yes, it's good he shared the arrest. We totally condemn. I think there's even the Lagos State environmental laws of 2017 and their penalties already meted. In fact, one section, I think section 27, was talking about hazardous waste and everything. You know, you can't be jailed and kept in prison. I'm happy Tokunbo Wahab is doing it. But please, Tokunbo Wahab, my very good friend and brother, go to Aja under bridge and clear the place. It's smelly. Go to all those drainage areas and clear them. They are smelly.
It's still there.
All these things are still there. Go to the markets. Go to other areas that are inundated with dirt, that is a filth, that is smelly and smelly. Another thing I've always wanted to tell you, see, it's an eyesore on Lagos. That when you're coming to Lagos, the first thing you see is a dump site, Olusoso, that big dump site. We should find a way to be able to evacuate and do a lot to be able to clean up areas like that. When we say Lagos is smelly, because a lot of people have also pictured along tribal lines that it's a waste of time. Some funny people are saying, leave Lagos. It's a waste of time. See, everybody is here to add to the talent and development of Lagos. It is all of our Lagos.
Yes.
When we say it's smelling, it's not an indictment on government alone. It's a call to action for all of us to fix it. That's just it. Also, people roaming around. There's also an increased number of people sleeping on the streets now and things like that. These are things you should be able to work on. Most gutters are in a deplorable state. You know, I keep saying this. Wodimaya, I'm not necessarily we should do this. Wodimaya did a challenge of how clean Kigali was, and he sat in a gutter at some point. But go and check. Most of the drainage gutters are so dirty in Lagos, and they bring out the dirt and they put them on the road, on the side of the road.
And then the rain
So
falls and
clean
washes
the
it
gutters, clean the streets, clean everywhere. I was in Abidjan. I need to write because of that. I was in Abidjan. From 10 p.m., if you stay around Plateau in Abidjan, you start to hear the street sweepers start to sweep from 10 p.m. once the road is clear. We need to be able to clean Lagos that way. Get to work. Kudos on this, but get to work. Let's partner on how we can clean Lagos. Lagos is smelly.
All right, then. Let's take our next story very quickly. The Nigerian Correctional Service has announced a 5 million naira cash reward for anyone providing credible information leading to the recapture of inmates who escaped from the Medium Custodial Center in Ilesha, Osun State. The announcement was made in a statement signed by Umar Abubakar, the Deputy Controller of Corrections and Public Relations Officer for the service on Wednesday. Now, according to the statement, he's urging the public to report any information about the escaped inmates' whereabouts to the nearest security agency. All reports will be treated with strict confidentiality and informants' identities will remain anonymous. The escape happened overnight on Tuesday after heavy rainfall caused the facility's old perimeter wall to collapse, allowing 7 inmates to flee. The breach occurred around 2 a.m. The escaped inmates are John Michael, age 34, Toby Akin, age 19, Eze Nweze, 40, Nina Lowo Yusuf, 28, Matthew Ogunjimi, 20, Kabiru Oyedun, 39, and Olalekan Ajofoyinbo, who is 45. You know, this situation where once it rains, the fences collapse, and then we see inmates able to just make their way freely out of correctional facilities. I mean, fine, I get what they're trying to do to sensitize the people to, if they've seen them, to put their names for. But what if that doesn't happen? That means these people have kind of just made their way out of it. Vumbai.
Well, it's not the first time this is happening.
Yeah.
I believe Kuje Prison also had a similar situation. But it just goes back to the fact that a lot of these custodial centers, if not all, were not actually built for purpose. We are repurposing them now into medium security, maximum security prisons. But that's not what their original purpose was. So it's now time for us to, as part of investment in that sector, to actually build fit for purpose. I know we call them correctional centers, fit for purpose, that are well secure, that are, created with the environment in mind, with the conditions that we know it's going to rain, the climate change, all of those factors, so that the walls don't crumble when it rains and you have inmates just walking out. But on a lighter note, I was following this on social media, and some people in Osun State were saying, quick 5 million. Let me go into town and see how at least, let me see if I can get alerts.
No, the problem with the correctional centers in Nigeria is that the prisons are old. Yes. They are dilapidated structures. They need to be rebuilt. They need to be modernized. They need to be given facilities. They are over congested. That's why when rain falls, either in Benin or in Ilesha, the walls will collapse and inmates can escape. This medium custodial center in Ilesha was built in 1943, colonial times. And the capacity at that time was for 600 prisoners. Now, if you go to that prison, either this one or the one in Kuje or the one in Abeokuta or the one in, there's one in Odogbulu, right? They have a prison. Anyway, I'm just joking. What I'm saying is that these are colonial structures, that cannot stand, the vagaries of weather. And which is why I find it interesting that the Minister of the Interior, Olubunmi Ojo, part of his program is to see how these prison centers can be restructured. And this Ilesha Medium Custodial Center is one of those prisons on the list of those prisons that will be rebuilt and modernized. And I hope that under his watch, the Ministry of Interior will get the necessary support to rebuild, these various prisons so that we don't have this problem of inmates escaping and people scrambling to collect 5 million naira.
All right, then thank you so much. Let's take our good news report of the day. The Olu of Warri, His Royal Majesty Ogiame Atuwase III, has been named one of the 100 most reputable Africans for 2025 by the Reputation Poll International in partnership with the Global Reputation Forum. The recognition, of course, celebrates his contributions to leadership, cultural preservation, and community development in the Warri Kingdom. The award ceremony took place in Johannesburg, South Africa, with notable African dignitaries in attendance, including former South African Deputy President Phumzile Mlambo. And in his speech, the Olu of Warri stressed the need for Afrocentric governance and the role of traditional rulers in Africa's progress. Congratulations to the Olu of Warri. He keeps making us proud, putting Nigeria on the map, of course. This is really good news, and I know that this is just the beginning for him. Quickly, 30 seconds each, so that we can go.
Oba Iwere. It's no longer Oba Iwere, it's Oba Iwere. I mean, he's an Olu of class.
Yes.
And it shows. You see, in this country where when you look at some traditional rulers and you look at the way they behave like Jaguda in public, you don't respect them. He has shown class, he has shown panache, he has uplifted his kingdom. And I think others should learn from him. Not the kind of traditional rulers that all you hear stories of them beating their wives in public. Moving on.
Double celebration because today is Olori Atuwase III's birthday, her 39th birthday today. So wishing her a very wonderful day and a great new year added to her life. And I pray that they continue to find the strength and the grace to take this modern rulership, forward. I think they're fantastic role models for what traditional rulership can look like.
100%.
Yes. Congratulations to the Olu of Warri, the father of all members of the Warri Kingdom. But apart from the recognition, the award, which is well-deserved, I think the more important part was the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, that the Olu of Warri signed with the King of the Zulu Kingdom, Zweli Litini. I think that's the pronunciation of his name. They signed a memorandum of understanding for, relationship between the Zulu Kingdom and also, the Warri Kingdom, commercial, cultural, collaboration. And I think that is important because modern diplomacy, rather what is called new diplomacy, simply means that it's not only government that does diplomacy. There are other non-state actors like traditional rulers and persons, business people, who can even on behalf of a country or a community engage in diplomacy. This is a very good, positive example of new diplomacy. And I think that the Nigerian government and the South African government should support this collaboration between the Zulu Kingdom and the Warri Kingdom.
Fantastic. Well, very well said. Well, that's all I have for you on what's trending today, tomorrow, Friday, my favorite day of the week.
And that's all on today's edition of The Morning Show. Bosin Omofaye is up next with Global Business Report, and he will be speaking to Abigail Alabi, Sub-Saharan Africa Industrial Goods, Vetiver Capital Management, and Ayo Ibaro, Chief Executive Officer of Northcote Real Estate. Stay with us. This is still the Arise News Channel.